The return of humanity. The Galactic Council sat in the heart of their massive space station, discussing the latest victories over various star systems. They had wiped out planets that dared to defy their authority, and their power seemed endless. But something in the air felt different this time. There was an uneasy silence as a new report flashed on the screen. "Another rebel fleet has been spotted in the outer rim," said the chief officer, his voice calm but his eyes uneasy. The room fell silent. The outer rim was a place they had not visited in years. It was where Earth used to be. Earth, the planet they had wiped out 50,000 years ago. There had been no sign of humanity since then, and the Council had assumed they were gone for good. But now, this new report stirred old memories. Memories of the destruction they had caused. "This cannot be true," the head of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Varks, said sharply. "Humanity was eradicated. They're not a threat anymore." But as he spoke, something strange began to happen. The screens in the council chamber flickered, and a new transmission came through. It wasn't a normal report or data from the battlefield. It was a signal, clear, precise, and unmistakably from Earth. Chancellor Varks narrowed his eyes. "What is this?" The transmission was brief, but its message was chilling. "Humanity has returned." The room was filled with silence as the implications of that message hit the council. It was impossible. Humanity had been destroyed, eradicated. The very idea that they could still be alive, and even worse, that they had returned, was too much to accept. "Prepare a response team," Varks ordered, his voice firm. "I want a full investigation. This could be a trick, a trap, but we cannot take any chances." As the council's officers scrambled to follow orders, a sense of unease began to spread. The Galactic Council had never been challenged in this way before. For thousands of years, they ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, never doubting their superiority. But now, a long-forgotten enemy had reappeared. Meanwhile, in the deepest corners of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of the Galactic Council, the story of Earth was very different. On a remote planet, hidden from the eyes of the Empire, a fleet of ships sat in waiting. These were no ordinary ships. They were human-made, forged in secret, and equipped with technology that had been developed over generations. Humans had never truly been destroyed. They had survived, and they had been waiting for the right moment to strike back. And now, that moment had come. Commander Alex Morgan stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring out at the stars. It had been a long 50,000 years, but humanity was finally ready to take its revenge. Earth's survivors had rebuilt their strength in the shadows, hidden from the rest of the galaxy. They had learned to adapt, to survive, and they had never forgotten what had been done to them. "Commander, we're ready," said Lieutenant Sarah Blake, her voice steady. "The fleet is in position. We can attack now." Alex nodded, his gaze hardening. "No more waiting. It's time to remind the galaxy what humanity is capable of." With a few simple commands, the fleet's engines roared to life. Thousands of ships, sleek and powerful, moved as one. They were a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming. Back on the Council station, they had been scrambling to figure out what to do. The transmission from Earth had been analyzed, but it was still unclear whether it was a trick or the real thing. However, the message was clear enough. Humanity was back, and they were ready to fight. The Council's most trusted spies and agents were being sent to investigate, but they still had no idea how deep humanity's plans ran. It was then that the first human ship appeared on the edge of the Council's radar. The ship was small compared to the Empire's mighty warships, but its speed and stealth were unmatched. The human vessel slipped past the Council's outer defenses without a sound. "What is this?" one of the officers yelled as the ship appeared on their sensors. "How did it get past our defenses?" Chancellor Varks stood up quickly, his mind racing. "Get the fleet ready. This is no drill. Humanity has returned, and we will not let them have their revenge." But as they scrambled to deploy their forces, It was already too late. The human fleet was more powerful than anyone could have guessed, and their first strike hit fast and hard. Within minutes, the outer defense stations were obliterated. It wasn't just a message, it was a warning. Humanity was back, and the Galactic Council was in grave danger. As the first signs of battle echoed through the galaxy, the human fleet advanced, preparing to unleash the full power of their revenge. The Council's arrogance had led them to believe that they could erase humanity from the face of the galaxy, but they had underestimated Earth's survivors, and now they would pay the price. Earth's revenge was just beginning, and the Council had no idea how much they had to lose. The first strike. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Reports flooded in from all corners of the galaxy. The small human ship that had appeared on their radar was just the beginning. The Galactic fleet had been deployed, but no one was prepared for what would happen next. Humanity, a force thought to be extinct, had returned with a vengeance. Chancellor Varks paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had never felt so unsettled. The reports confirmed that the human ship, though small, had destroyed an entire defense station without even breaking a sweat. It was no ordinary vessel. What are we dealing with here? Varks muttered to himself. How did they survive all these years? And how did they develop this kind of technology? He turned to his chief officer, a tall, stern-looking alien named Corin. Prepare the fleet. We can't take any chances. Humanity must be stopped before they can organize. Corin nodded, but there was doubt in his eyes. We should have destroyed them when we had the chance, he said quietly, his voice tinged with regret. Now, it may be too late. Back on the human flagship, Commander Alex Morgan stood at the command center, his hands gripping the edge of his seat. The time had come. The Galactic Council was underestimating them, and that was exactly how they liked it. Ready the fleet for the first strike, Alex ordered. Make it quick and precise. We hit them hard, and we hit them where it hurts. The officers at their stations nodded and began to execute their orders. The human fleet had remained hidden in the far reaches of space for so long, but now it was ready. Thousands of ships, each equipped with advanced technology that the Galactic Council couldn't even comprehend, were moving into position. We're locking on to their central command station, Lieutenant Blake reported, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. We have full control of the surrounding systems. Good, Alex replied, his face hardening. Prepare the weapons. This is only the beginning. Once we strike, we can't afford to waste any time. The human fleet, swift and deadly, moved closer to the heart of the Galactic Empire. The Council's most advanced warships were spread thin across the galaxy, unable to respond in time. The human ships were too fast, too well-equipped, and too determined to fail. As they neared their target, a massive warship belonging to the Galactic Council, Alex's eyes scanned the view screen. It was the heart of the enemy's defenses, a symbol of their arrogance, their unchallenged power. And it was about to fall. Ready, fire, Alex commanded. The first shot rang out, a brilliant flash of light that cut through space. The blast hit the Council's warship directly, tearing through its shields like paper. A chain reaction of explosions followed, lighting up the void of space. Within moments, the mighty warship was reduced to debris. Direct hit, Lieutenant Blake confirmed, her voice cold. The fleet is retreating. They didn't see this coming. Alex stood still, watching the wreckage. There was no joy in his expression, no satisfaction. This wasn't about winning. It was about making a statement. Humanity had been wiped out once, and they had returned to take back what was theirs. This is just the beginning, Alex said quietly. We'll make them pay for what they did to us, one ship at a time. Back at the Galactic Council station, the attack had left everyone in shock. The once untouchable fleet had been destroyed in seconds. The Council members were stunned. How could one human ship do this? What do we do now? Corin asked, his voice filled with panic. The humans. They have more ships, don't they? Varks gritted his teeth, trying to hide the fear creeping up his spine. We need reinforcements. Now. But he knew it was too late. The human fleet wasn't just a few ships. It was an unstoppable force. And they had just shown the galaxy that nothing could stand in their way. As the human fleet moved forward, they left the remnants of the Galactic Empire's most powerful warship behind. There would be no rest, no retreat. Humanity had returned, and nothing would stop them from getting their revenge. This part keeps the momentum going, with the first successful strike against the Galactic Council, while building more tension and mystery about the human fleet's capabilities. Let me know if you'd like any changes. The Council's response. The attack had shaken the Galactic Council to its core. Chancellor Vark stood before the massive holomap, watching the waves of destruction ripple across the galaxy. The human fleet, smaller than anything the Empire had ever seen, had decimated their best warships with ease. But Varks was not the kind to give up easily. He knew that the time to panic was over. It was time to retaliate. "We cannot let this stand," Varks growled, his voice cold and filled with authority. "Send the message. We need every ship, every fleet. Assemble our forces at once." Corin, his chief officer, stepped forward, his face grim. "Chancellor, they're not just using regular ships. We've never seen anything like this before. Their technology is beyond anything we've ever studied. Even our best warships were obliterated in seconds." Varks slammed his fist onto the control panel, sending a ripple of light across the room. "Then it's time we learn about their technology. We'll crush them before they have a chance to regroup. I want every fleet on high alert. We'll bring everything we have." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship, Commander Alex Morgan was standing at the helm, gazing out into space. The battle had been quick and decisive, but he knew it was far from over. The Galactic Empire would not let this defeat go unpunished. They would come back, and when they did, they would bring their full force. "We've made our mark," Alex said, turning to his crew. "But don't think for a second that we've won the war. The Galactic Council will retaliate. They'll come for us with everything they've got. We need to be ready." Lieutenant Blake nodded. "We've crippled their most powerful fleet. They're going to throw everything at us. But we've prepared for this. We have the advantage." "Not for long," Alex replied. "We need to move quickly. We can't let them organize." The human fleet moved silently through the dark expanse of space, always one step ahead. But the warning signals were clear. The Galactic Council was coming. They had gathered their forces, mobilized their fleets, and now they were marching toward the humans. The next battle would be much harder. Alex's mind raced. He needed to find a way to gain the upper hand before the full might of the Empire arrived. Their technology was superior, but that wasn't enough to stop a human determination that had been forged in the fires of survival. "We need to hit them first," Alex said, his voice firm. "Find their weakest link. Hit them hard, make them scatter. We can't wait for them to come to us." Back on the Council's homeworld, the preparations were underway. Vast fleets of ships, each more advanced than the last, were being readied for war. They would not underestimate humanity again. Every ship, every soldier, was being mobilized to strike at the heart of the human fleet. "We're ready, Chancellor," Corin said, standing beside Varks as the final preparations were made. "The largest fleet ever assembled is at our disposal. We'll destroy them this time." Varks looked out the window, his eyes hard. "Humanity thought they could defeat us with a handful of ships. They're wrong. We have the power to crush them. We'll show them what happens when you challenge the Galactic Empire." But as the Council's fleets gathered, they were unaware that the humans had already set their next move into motion. It wasn't just about defeating their enemy. It was about sending a message. Humanity had been written off, wiped out, and forgotten. Now, they would take everything back. And this time, the Galactic Council wouldn't be prepared for what was coming. As the Council prepared for war, Alex's crew continued to plot their next moves. Every action, every decision was critical. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy that was far more powerful. But they had one thing the Empire didn't: the element of surprise. The battle lines were drawn. The Galactic Council might have thought humanity was weak, but the humans were ready. And they would make sure the galaxy knew that Earth was back, stronger than ever. The Galactic counterattack. The calm before the storm hung heavily in the air. The human fleet moved through the cold expanse of space, but the crew could sense the growing pressure. Every ship was on high alert. Every officer knew that the Galactic Empire would soon make their move. The battle for survival was about to get much harder. Incoming transmission, Lieutenant Blake said, her voice steady but laced with tension. It's from the Galactic Council. Alex Morgan stood from his chair, his expression unwavering. Put it on screen. The face of Chancellor Varks appeared on the view screen, his eyes filled with anger. Humans, he began, his voice full of contempt. You have made a grave mistake. You have provoked the Galactic Empire. You will regret your actions. Alex's gaze remained cold and resolute. This is just the beginning, Varks. Your empire will fall. You destroyed Earth once, but we're back, and we're not going anywhere. Varks's expression tightened. We will crush you, human. Prepare for the full might of the Empire. The transmission ended, and the crew exchanged grim looks. The Council had spoken, and their threat was real. They would not back down. The human fleet was outnumbered, and now they were facing the full force of the Galactic Empire. The human ships continued their silent drift through the stars, but the tension was palpable. Everyone on board knew what was coming. It was no longer just a fight for revenge. It was a fight for survival. The Galactic Council was not known for mercy, and humanity was about to face its biggest test. We've taken down their flagship, Alex muttered to himself, but they won't stop until we're all dead. Lieutenant Blake stepped forward, her voice firm. We'll survive this, Commander. We've been outnumbered before, and we've come through every time. We'll make them pay for what they did to Earth. We have to be smarter than they are, Alex replied. We need to hit them where they least expect it. This time, we won't wait for them to come to us. We'll take the fight to their doorstep. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council's fleets were assembling. Countless warships, each one a terrifying symbol of the Empire's power, were being readied for war. The Galactic Council's response was swift and ruthless. They would show humanity the true cost of defying their authority. We are ready to strike, Corrin said, his voice calm but filled with cold determination. Every ship has been deployed. The human fleet will be crushed beneath our might. Varks nodded, his eyes narrowed with anger. Destroy them. Leave no trace of humanity behind. We'll make sure they never rise again. The Empire's ships began to move, their engines glowing bright as they hurtled toward their target, the human fleet. They had no idea what was in store for them. Back aboard the human fleet, Alex gathered his officers in the briefing room. The stakes had never been higher. The Council's response was massive, and the battle would be unlike any they had faced before. Prepare yourselves, Alex said, his voice low and intense. This is not just a battle for revenge anymore. This is a fight for our future. We know how the Council operates. They'll come at us with everything they have, but we know how to fight back. We'll strike first, Lieutenant Blake said, her voice filled with determination. They won't see it coming. Alex nodded. Exactly. We take the fight to them, hit their supply lines, hit their weak spots. We've got the advantage of surprise, and we need to use it. The human fleet set its course, moving toward the heart of the Galactic Empire. The Council's ships were closing in fast, but Alex's crew was ready. The plan was in motion. They would hit the Empire's supply lines, disrupt their communications, and leave them scrambling to respond. As the two fleets drew closer, the tension in space seemed to crackle. This would be the moment of truth. Would humanity's surprise tactics be enough to overcome the overwhelming power of the Galactic Empire? Or would the Council crush the humans once and for all? The countdown had begun. The battle was imminent. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming, and humanity was ready to show them just how powerful they really were. It was no longer just a war for revenge. It was a war for survival, and humanity would fight until the very end. The battle begins. The galaxy trembled. The final confrontation was at hand. On one side, the full force of the Galactic Empire's might was ready to strike, their fleets prepared for battle. On the other, the human fleet, smaller but determined, was bracing for the fight of their lives. The countdown had begun, and the stage was set for a clash that would echo across the stars. "We got incoming ships," Lieutenant Blake said, her eyes scanning the sensors. "A whole fleet, massive, and they're heading straight for us." Alex Morgan stood by the window, his arms crossed. The time for talk was over. The Empire was here, and there was no turning back now. "It's time. Everyone, get to your stations. We fight or we die." As the human fleet engaged its engines, Alex felt a sense of calm. The plan was set. They would hit the Empire's weakest link first, disrupt their formations, and make them bleed. The humans had learned to fight under impossible odds. This time, it was no different. "Battle stations," Alex shouted. "Ready all weapons. They won't take us without a fight." On the other side of space, Chancellor Vark stood at the helm of his flagship, the Empire's pride. He watched as the human fleet moved into range. It was smaller than his, but the fleet of humans had already shown its power. It had defeated the Empire's best. And now, Varks would see if they were truly capable of taking on the full strength of the Galactic Empire. "Commence fire," Varks ordered coldly. "Show them what happens when you challenge the might of the Empire." His fleet unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, bright beams of destruction hurtling toward the human ships. The battle had begun. Alex watched as the first wave of enemy fire lit up space around him. The enemy ships were massive, their weapons powerful. But he had expected this. The human fleet had an ace in the hole: speed, precision, and an unrelenting will to win. "Counterattack," Alex ordered. "Move us in close. We have to take out their command ship." The human fleet began to maneuver, small but nimble compared to the Empire's massive warships. Alex's ship led the charge, cutting through enemy fire with ease. But the battle was far from won. Every strike, every maneuver mattered. The first wave of human fire hit its target, one of the Empire's smaller ships. The explosion was massive, sending shockwaves through the surrounding ships. But the Empire didn't falter. The battle continued, each side taking hits, each side refusing to give in. "We've taken damage," Blake called out. "Shields are holding, but barely. We need to get closer to their command ship." Alex nodded. "Keep moving. We can't afford to slow down. If we take out their leadership, we take out their will to fight." The battle raged on. The human fleet fought with everything they had. Ships were falling on both sides, and the sound of explosions filled the airwaves. But the humans were not backing down. They had a purpose, and they would see it through. One by one, the Empire's ships were falling. The humans were relentless, using their superior tactics to outmaneuver the larger, slower ships of the Empire. But they weren't out of danger yet. The Empire had more ships waiting, and the fight was far from over. As the human fleet advanced, Alex's ship finally came into range of the command ship. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. He could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the decision before him. "Target the command ship," Alex ordered. "All weapons, full power." The crew worked in unison, launching a massive barrage of energy blasts. The Empire's command ship tried to dodge, but it was too late. The human fleet's precision paid off. Explosions erupted on the command ship's hull, sending it into chaos. "Direct hit," Blake shouted. "The command ship is down." The Empire's fleet was thrown into disarray. Ships turned in every direction, trying to reorganize and retaliate, but it was too late. The humans had struck the heart of the Empire's force, and now the battle was turning in their favor. "We're not done yet," Alex said, his voice hard. "Finish them off. Every ship, every fleet. No mercy." The human fleet continued to press forward, taking down ship after ship. But there was one more thing Alex knew. The Empire would not give up so easily. There would be a counterattack. But for now, they had the upper hand. The battle was far from over, but humanity had made its mark. The Galactic Empire had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. The humans had proven they could stand toe-to-toe with the mightiest force in the galaxy. The question remained, would they finish the job, or would the Empire come back with vengeance? The fight for survival was not over, but humanity was proving it had what it took to win. The Empire strikes back. The moment the Empire's command ship exploded into fiery debris, Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. For a brief moment, it seemed like the humans had won, but he knew better. The Empire would never back down so easily. And now, their retaliation was coming. "We did it. The command ship's gone," Blake said, relief flooding her voice. Alex didn't share her confidence. The battle was far from over. "Don't celebrate yet," he replied, his eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. "They're regrouping. Expect them to hit back harder." As if on cue, a new wave of Empire ships came into view. This time, they weren't just attacking blindly. They were more organized, more precise, and they were coming for the human fleet with deadly intent. "They're bringing in reinforcements," Blake said, her voice tense. "We need to fall back, or we'll get caught in their crossfire." Alex shook his head. "No, we can't retreat. Not now. We're in this to win." The human fleet had made progress, but now they were about to face the full wrath of the Empire's military strength. This next phase of the battle would be the toughest yet. The Empire's ships closed in, their weapons already primed. This time, they didn't waste any time. The space between the two fleets was filled with energy blasts, the intense light from each explosion lighting up the dark expanse of space. The humans returned fire, their small fleet now facing a much larger and more heavily armed force. "Shields holding," Blake shouted as another round of blasts hit their ship. "Status on weapons?" Alex asked, keeping his eyes locked on the battle. "We're down to half power," Blake reported. "We've taken more hits than I thought." Alex clenched his jaw. "Keep firing. Don't stop." The Empire's ships were relentless, firing wave after wave of deadly energy blasts. The human fleet was doing its best to dodge and counter, but the Empire's firepower was overwhelming. In the heart of the Empire's flagship, Chancellor Varks watched the battle unfold on his massive holoscreen. His fleet had been hit hard by the human attack, but now they were regrouping. He would make sure this rebellion was crushed once and for all. The humans had gotten lucky, but luck had a way of running out. "Reinforce the front lines," Varks commanded. "Don't let them gain another inch. We take back control now." The Empire's ships shifted formations, turning their firepower toward the human fleet. They were targeting the weaker ships, trying to pick off the smaller human vessels one by one. On the human side, things were beginning to look dire. The once confident fleet was now under heavy fire. Ships were taking hits, their shields weakening with every attack. The human fleet was outnumbered, and the odds were quickly turning against them. "Captain, we're losing ships," Blake said urgently, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We can't keep up with this much firepower." "We can't afford to lose any more," Alex replied, his voice steady but tense. "We need to hit back hard. Find their weak spots." As if hearing his command, the human fleet started to focus on the Empire's weaker flank. The humans had learned from the first wave, and now they were determined to make their enemies pay for every ship lost. But the Empire wasn't going to make it easy. Varks had expected this. He had prepared for every possible move the humans might make. The Empire's counterattack came fast and brutal, smashing into the human fleet with a force that sent shockwaves through space. "Brace for impact," Alex shouted as another round of energy fire hit their ship, sending the crew tumbling. "Hold together, people. We're not finished yet." The human ships held their ground, but the toll was clear. Several of their smaller vessels had been destroyed, leaving only the strongest of the fleet to continue the fight. Alex knew time was running out. They couldn't keep this up forever. They needed a plan, something that would turn the tide in their favor. Suddenly, a voice from the back of the room cut through the tension. "Captain, we found a way through their defenses," Blake said, her eyes wide with excitement. "The Empire's ships have a weakness in their secondary shields. If we hit them right, we can break through." Alex's heart raced. This was the opening they needed. "Get us in position. Now." The human fleet shifted, their remaining ships making a sharp turn toward the Empire's vulnerable flank. The energy weapons charged, and Alex gave the order. "All weapons, full power. Fire now." The human fleet unleashed a barrage of fire, the blasts tearing through the weakened shields of the Empire's ships. One by one, Empire vessels began to explode, their massive forms breaking apart as the humans made their move. The battle was far from won, but the Empire was losing its grip. The tide had shifted in the humans' favor, and Alex felt a sense of determination fill him. They might have been outnumbered, but they were not going to give up. Not now. Not ever. "Don't stop firing," Alex commanded, his voice filled with resolve. "We finished this. Now." The humans fought on, determined to take the fight to the Empire. And with every blast, the Galactic Empire's hold on the galaxy weakened just a little more. The Empire had struck back, but the humans had refused to give up. The fight was now a battle of willpower, who would break first. Alex and his fleet had proven they could stand against the Empire's might. But the question was, would they survive long enough to deliver the final blow? The battle had become a war of attrition, and both sides were starting to feel the strain. The outcome was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity was far from finished. The final strike. The battle raged on, but the tide had shifted. The Empire's once imposing fleet was beginning to falter. The humans, against all odds, had found a crack in the Empire's defenses and exploited it with precision. But the war wasn't over yet. The Empire was regrouping, and a new wave of reinforcements was on the way. Alex's eyes never left the screens in front of him. He could see the enemy ships closing in again. The Empire was far from defeated, and they would fight to the bitter end. "We've taken out their command ship," Blake said, watching the data as she ran a quick analysis. "But the Empire's not done yet. They've got more ships coming in." "Then we'll keep pushing forward," Alex replied, his voice steady and filled with resolve. "We didn't come this far to stop now." Blake turned to face him, her expression serious. "We're running low on ammunition, Captain. If we don't hit them hard now, we might not get another chance." Alex looked out at the chaos of the battlefield. The human fleet was battered, but it was still standing. They had already lost a few ships, and the remaining ones were struggling to hold up under the Empire's relentless attacks. "We've got one shot at this," Alex said, clenching his fists. "We'll hit them with everything we've got. No holding back. This is it." The humans prepared for their final push. All remaining ships moved into position, forming a tight formation. Every remaining fighter was primed, and the fleet was charged up, ready for their final assault. Alex knew that this was their last chance. If they didn't strike now, they might not get another opportunity. The Empire's reinforcements were coming, but they hadn't arrived yet. This was the humans' moment. "Captain, we're locked on target," Blake said, her voice tight with concentration. "Ready to fire when you give the word." Alex nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. "Fire at will. Take down every ship in your path." The human fleet unleashed everything it had left. Every ship fired its weapons, and the combined force of the human fleet struck like a hammer against the Empire's defenses. Explosions filled space, and the Empire's ships began to break apart under the assault. For a moment, the battlefield was filled with bright flashes and the sounds of destruction. The humans had managed to break through the Empire's final line of defense. One by one, the Empire's ships exploded, their hulking forms disintegrating in fiery bursts. But even as the Empire's fleet began to fall apart, the humans pushed on. They were determined to finish the fight once and for all. "Keep pushing forward," Alex urged, his voice filled with urgency. "We can't stop now." The Empire's remaining ships fought desperately to hold their ground, but it was clear they were no match for the fury of the human fleet. The tables had turned. The underdog had become the victor. The last of the Empire's ships fell one by one, until all that remained were a few scattered debris and the echo of the battle's aftermath. Alex stood at the helm, watching the destruction unfold. His heart was pounding, but there was a deep sense of relief and triumph as the last of the enemy ships were destroyed. They had done it. The Galactic Empire, once thought invincible, had been brought to its knees by one human fleet. "We won," Blake said, her voice filled with awe. Alex didn't answer right away. He was still processing the magnitude of what they had just accomplished. "We did," he said quietly, "but we've only just begun. This is only the first step in the fight for our freedom." The human fleet had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The Empire was shattered, but its remnants still lingered. The humans had made their mark, but they knew the path ahead would be filled with more challenges. As the final remnants of the Empire's fleet drifted into the void, Alex turned his attention to the rest of the galaxy. The fight for humanity's future was just beginning. The message was clear. Humanity was back, and they were ready to take what was theirs. The victory over the Empire was monumental, but it was only the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. Alex's eyes were already on the stars ahead. They had proven they could fight back. But now, they would need to secure their place in a galaxy that had once believed them to be nothing more than a distant memory. The humans had struck back. The Galactic Empire had fallen. And now, nothing would stop them from taking their rightful place in the cosmos.